Well, hello and welcome to another edition of You and Me and Multiple Sclerosis. My name is Pam and I've been living with multiple sclerosis for almost 37 years. A lot has changed over that time and I've learned a lot and I keep learning all the time. And I'm just trying to share some things with you that might be helpful. But before I do, of course, I have to talk about my tea that I'm drinking today. And you have to see there we go. This is from a place called Grumpy's in Rockaway Beach, Oregon. We're part of the Oregon coast that has a very long walking beach. It's really wonderful. And Grumpy's is a little diner, but they make the best breakfast and they have wonderful fresh baked goods. The tea that I have in my mug today is one of my favorites also. It's called Constant Comment. And it's, I think Bigelow puts it out. But it's been a favorite of mine for a long time. I had a cat once named Constant Comment. We shortened his name to Coco. The reason we named him that is because he was meowing all the time. He was always had something to say. So it seemed like the right name for him. Well, speaking of talking and not really saying anything, I think I'm doing that right now. So let me stop that and let's get started with what I wanted to talk about today. Well, I'm going to follow up on my trigeminal neuralgia experience. I did a part 1 and a part 2 on that. Remember that I needed to have some oral surgery. And I ended up going to an oral surgeon who actually gave me general anesthesia first before he did the local numbing so he could do some tooth extraction. And the surgery itself went wonderfully. The healing has been great and I haven't had any trigeminal neuralgia. But what I have found ever since then was that my fatigue has been quite a bit worse. I really discovered that when I was standing at the kitchen counter. I was probably standing there for, I don't know, 15 minutes at the most. When I turned to walk away, my legs were like jello, and I thought, what? That was very surprising. I had a lot of trouble walking. So ever since then, I have noticed that I fatigue so much more easily standing, which never was my favorite thing since MS really kind of got a hold of my life. Standing has become almost impossible for me for any length of time. And the distance that I can walk without getting very fatigued is much shorter than it was even 6 months ago, 3 months ago. So, all right, I thought to myself, this is not good. So I made an appointment with my neurologist at Oregon Health and Science University that I've mentioned before. That appointment, though, is not going to be until December 2nd. So I have to wait until then. And in a way, that's good because it gives us a chance to see whether it will just go away on its own, because things do go away on their own. But given that this has gone on now for, well, it will be well over 2 months when I go to the neurologist, I think it's a good idea to get it checked out. And you know what they always tell you, don't go looking up stuff on the internet because it's only going to get you upset and all that kind of stuff. And I know that, and you know that, but we all also know that most of us do go out to the internet and look to see if we can find anything about the symptom that we're having and what might be causing it. Well, okay, I admit I've done that, but what I do is I make sure that I stick with sites that are reputable, because we all know this. You go out there looking for stuff about MS, there is all kinds of crazy stuff out there, and we don't want to get mixed up in that. We don't want to get ourselves all worried for no reason. We don't want to try some crazy theory that might do us more harm than good. If it's not something that we can find in a reputable site, we should not be following it. And I can give you a list down below of some sites that I think are reputable, but some of my go-to places for medical information are places like the Mayo Clinic, the National Multiple Sclerosis Society, PubMed, WebMD is pretty good. There are a few, and if I don't find anything in those sites, then I begin to wonder whether maybe my symptom is just one of those strange things that may or may not have anything to do with my MS at all. That's something we always have to consider, right? That not everything that happens to us is because we have MS. So I should look at that too. But I did finally manage to find something from a reputable enough site. And by reputable enough, I mean that they cite a reputable source that does talk about general anesthesia and multiple sclerosis. I'm going to go ahead and pull that site up, just that one part, and you can see what I'm talking about. So the site is Medical News Today, which is not a site that I would have sought out particularly, but it came up in the search. And when I looked at it, I was heartened to see that they do cite the National Multiple Sclerosis Society. So I thought, okay, well, they're at least getting their information from a reputable source. I'm just only focused here on the part that pertained to the symptom that I was having. I looked up the idea of general anesthesia and whether it affects your multiple sclerosis. The only thing that they said was that there might be a longer recovery process. So I'll go ahead and read this. People with MS-related muscle weakness or fatigue, and the fatigue is, of course, the symptom I'm having, may find it more difficult to recover after surgery if they have to spend a prolonged period of time in bed, as these symptoms make it harder to regain strength afterwards. Well, okay, that's where you lost me because I didn't really spend any time in bed. At first, I thought that was pretty promising. It was going to give me some information, but now, as I read the rest of the sentence, I'm thinking, well, that doesn't apply to me, so I guess maybe that's not going to be very helpful. And the second paragraph says, physical therapy can help with this. The National Multiple Sclerosis Society suggests starting physical therapy as soon as someone is able to, with a doctor's recommendation. Well, that's something I will talk to my doctor about when I go down and see her in December. So that, in a way, is kind of helpful. I'm not going to run out and make an appointment with a physical therapist before talking to my own doctor first. My neurologist needs to weigh in on that. And then the summary paragraph covers some of the same ground. In most cases, anesthesia is safe for people with multiple sclerosis and appears to have the same level of risk as it does for people without MS. However, other aspects of undergoing surgery, such as recovery, may be more difficult depending on a person's symptoms. So then they talk about respiratory diseases or people who take medications should discuss these with their doctor. So, okay, I will do that, but I was also asked that question by the oral surgeon before my surgery. They were aware the only medicine I'm really on is gabapentin, and they knew that. I don't think they had any reason to believe that I was going to have a problem. Well, the long and the short of it is, it looks like this may be just one of those things. Maybe it's a coincidence for all I know. Maybe it wasn't the anesthesia itself, but it was the body going through some kind of stress because being put under anesthesia is stressful in some way. I will say that if I decided to go the traditional route and just have my regular dentist do this with localized Novocaine, I think I would have been even more stressed than that. So I think I did the right thing. I've had surgery before, other times when I've had general anesthesia, but once I was quite young. I was only in my late 20s, early 30s. I had my wisdom teeth out under general anesthesia. And I remember I was a little wiped out, but only for a day or two. And then I, of course, had my cancer surgery in 2014. But I was in bed, right? There was a long recovery just because of the nature of the surgery. So who knows? I might have been fatigued, but I would have attributed it to the major operation that I'd had, and that my body was needing to put all its energy into repairing itself and recovering. Well, okay, so my little foray out to the internet didn't really yield very many answers, but there were some suggestive things here. Once again, though, I'm going to take that information And I'm going to go talk to my neurologist about it. I'm not going to go half-cocked and say, oh, yes, physical therapy will fix the whole thing. Or maybe I should stop taking my gabapentin. I don't think that's what's causing the problem. But even if it is, it's something that my doctor knows more about than I do. At some point, I have to trust that the folks who've been in this business a long time know what they're doing. I know my own body, certainly, and I will explain to the neurologist what's going on with me. And I suggest the same for you. When you go visit your doctor, come prepared to tell them everything that you're noticing about your body, what's changed, what might have been different. Are you eating different? Did you take some over-the-counter thing that might account for why your symptoms are suddenly different or why you might have developed a new symptom? Because MS is what it is, right? We're living with a very strange disease, and there's not much to be done as far as controlling it or even predicting it. But our doctors can help us navigate the challenges of MS. So I count on my neurologist to help me do that. And I will be sure to let you know what she says after I have the appointment. So that'll be a couple weeks out yet. But I will be definitely making a video to let you know what I learn about this fatigue. And in the meantime, I'm just hoping it goes away on its own. Because you know what? I'm really tired of it. I'm kind of an impatient person. I realize that. But I think I've learned a lot of patience in 37 years. I don't really need an update on that lesson. Well, that's about all I can really say on that subject right now. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you again in my next video.